All right. Let's get this started. What up, cousin truckers and YouTubers? I'm once again out here to do another car review. Man, this daylight savings time stuff has really affected a lot of things. And, you know, the biggest thing since it ended is, you know, it gets darker a lot faster. So right now, here I am, close to midnight, getting ready to do a car review. You've already seen the thumbnail of the car, so you know what type of vehicle I got, so I won't even get into that. And let's just get started. And here we have it. It's a 2020 Chrysler 300. It's actually a very nice looking car. Sometimes I feel like it almost looks like the poor man's Rolls Royce and the very, very poor man's Rolls Royce, because it definitely is way cheaper than a Rolls Royce. And it seems like they really haven't changed this car a whole lot over the years. I mean, there's little things they've done to it which makes it look a little bit more up to date. But for the most part, it's still the Chrysler 300 that we all have grown to know and to love. And overall, I must say it's been a very decent car. Like, it's actually been enjoyable to drive. It's been fun. It's actually a 6-cylinder. So, you know, it's not too fast. It's not too slow. It's actually just right. Almost like something off of the, whatever that bear movie is. So, I've always liked the front end of these vehicles. These new headlights really look nice, really luxurious. I like the big grille on the front. If this was my own personal vehicle, I definitely know I would black this whole entire thing out and black out the chrome trim also. But this isn't my personal vehicle. This is a rental vehicle. And so this is the front end of the vehicle. A lot of these Chryslers and Dodges come standard with 20-inch wheels. And it's always funny because I remember back in the day when the big timers used to rhyme about 20 inches, you know, they all seemed huge. Now they seem a little small, but they still look good and they're just right for the highway. I am actually in my hometown of Fort Pierce, Florida. I actually just left DC. My little nephew, my brother, my cousin, we all just left DC. And since I've had the car for almost 10 days, because one thing I did recently find out is actually cheaper to rent a vehicle for longer. Like, the price for me to rent it for 5 days, it was only an extra $40 to go ahead and rent it for 10 days. So I figured, why not? I mean, it also helped me get a head start on our road trip. But this is the old Orange Blossom Mall that I grew up with. Now, I guess it is the St. Louis County Supervisor of Elections office or something like that. But I would actually love to go inside this old Orange Blossom Mall just to kind of reminisce and think about my childhood. But nonetheless, let's get back to the vehicle. So like I said, you just saw the outside. I'm gonna try to go ahead and get into the interior of the vehicle with the camera. Right now, my foot is basically healed right now. So my doctor did tell me I can take the boot off after Thanksgiving. So since it is after Thanksgiving, I decided to kind of, you know, give the foot a chance to breathe. So, all right. So here we are in the interior of the vehicle. The one thing that surprised me when I first got this vehicle is the fact it's not a full moonroof, but I guess it's considered a full sky view or something like that. This portion here does retract back. I actually originally thought this portion would retract back also, but it doesn't. But it's actually still pretty cool, pretty neat. You know, it makes the vehicle seem a little bit more elegant, having the full sky roof like this. It is a Chrysler 300. Right now, Chrysler only makes two vehicles, the Chrysler Pacifica and the Chrysler 300. So let's get this baby started. As usual, it's a 2020. So by now, almost all vehicles have push-to-start features. And I will say with this vehicle, unlike the, let me turn this music down before I get a music copyright. Unlike the Ford Explorer that I rented, as you saw when I turned on the vehicle, it doesn't have any fancy presentations on the dashboard. To me, the fanciest presentations I ever saw was on the Ford Explorer. Like, I was surprised how much it does as far as the presentation goes. It's trying to be fancy. They got, you know, the nice little clock here. I'm actually not sure how big this screen is, but I myself also have a Chrysler, and this screen is definitely bigger than my screen. That's one thing I definitely know. And like I say, overall, you know, and also these vehicles all have this little, you know, the little twist knob. They don't have the normal gear shift like they used to have. They all kind of got the twist and go knobs nowadays. One small thing I will say is this vehicle does have a decent amount of cup holders. So that made our road trip actually kind of nice. But I do not like the fact it does not have a lot of compartment space here in the center console. That still sucks. And so these are also the bells and whistles up here. I mean, it's like, you know, you push this button once and that retracts the sunroof, you know, and it's all auto, which is kind of nice. And also to retract the screen, you push this button here and the screen goes halfway. Well, actually, I'm sorry, it goes all the way, you know. And so that's, you know, so those are those two buttons there, one for the moonroof and one for the screen. Because it was just me in here, I will definitely say these black seats get very, you know what, I take that back. One day I got into the vehicle and the black seats were very hot, but for the most part, this definitely has a film on it, which helps block the sun from directly, you know, beaming into the vehicle. Because anybody who has black leather seats knows that black leather seats can get extremely hot, especially in the summertime. With this vehicle here, let me go through it. Because I'm a person who, I don't like to waste a lot of gas anymore. Back in the day, I didn't mind wasting gas. But as I've gotten older and closer to my demise, I've decided that I don't want to be wasting a lot of money on gas. I just left Savannah, Georgia after leaving DC. We drove from DC to Savannah, Georgia, and from Savannah, Georgia to Fort Pierce. And it basically says the car was getting 27.8 miles per gallon. I honestly feel like it was getting way more miles per gallon than that. Because, yeah, and overall I've driven over 2,500 miles almost. And it says it's getting about 27 miles to the gallon. But I definitely will say on the highway, it definitely feels like this vehicle is getting way more miles per gallon than that. Because I basically drove 4 hours from Brunswick, Georgia to Fort Pierce, Florida on a full tank of gas, and I've only burned half a tank of gas. The size of this tank is about 16 to 17 gallons, so, you know, that also helps. But it definitely seems like this is a good car for a road trip. But the one thing I will say, it was 4 of us on this road trip, which was 4 bags, and I quickly found out there is not a whole lot of trunk space in this vehicle. And actually, you know what, let's just get out and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Because like I said, man, we just left DC yesterday actually, and we stopped in Savannah, Georgia. And, you know, like I say, now I'm here in my hometown. I had to drop my little nephew off and drop my brother off in my hometown of Fort Pierce, Florida. Real quick, let me go ahead and do the backseat test. Because the entire time I basically drove to DC. My cousin also drove, so I sat in the passenger side, but I did not get a chance to sit in the backseat. My brother, who is about 6 foot, 13 years old, claims that it hurt his back sitting in the backseat of this vehicle after 15 hours. But I'm also, I'm back here now, and I'm now realizing I think it's just him being a 13-year-old who wanted to try to sit in the front. So he used the excuse to, oh, I hurt my back sitting back here. Because it actually feels comfortable to me right now. And I'm also regretting the fact that I did not once sit in the back seat to try to, enjoy the ride. Because like I said, I'm 6'2", and I have a decent amount of room back here. I sat in the driver's seat, which is in front of me, and that seat is as far back as it can go for somebody who's 6'2". So it's really not that bad at all. It's also making me realize my nephew was, I could have actually leaned my seat back further because my nephew, who's about 5'3", was sitting directly behind me. And man, he had plenty of space back here. So I'm also realizing that. But yeah, overall, it's a very nice vehicle. Very, I think it's classy. It is a Chrysler, so Chrysler has always been a you know, Chrysler owns Dodge and Jeep and things like that. So I think that Chrysler has always been their higher edition of vehicles. I think when it comes to road trips, I don't know if it would be good to have 5 people in a vehicle like this. They had 4 people, and it was basically a decent amount of room. But I think if you had 5 for a 18-hour road trip, that could be a problem. But definitely say, yeah, keep the occupancy low if you plan on using this type of vehicle for a long road trip. All right, and so let's now get out and check out the trunk. Because as I've said before, actually, I don't know if I said this before, but the trunk space on this vehicle was not good at all. And I was very disappointed, Chrysler, with how small this trunk was. I usually struggle with how to open the trunk of a rental car, but I've learned to look for it in certain spots. So everything is just kind of pushed to open nowadays, so, you know. And right here, right now, every time I go on a road trip, I have to take a cooler, I have to take my suitcase. This is my cousin's suitcase. This is my insulin stuff right here because I am diabetic. This is some other bags. But as you can see, we filled this trunk up pretty fast. And it actually got to the point where I actually had to take some stuff out of the trunk at home to make room for the stuff we actually needed. So I actually, which was aggravating, I actually had to leave my camera bag in Central Florida because it would not fit in the trunk with this other thing. So I had to put my camera and all my equipment in one of the bags that I traveled with, which sucked. But you know, at the same time, the purpose of this trip was to give my nephew and my brother a chance to see DC. And since I've been there before, I was like, you know what, let me not make the trip about me. Let me make it about the kids and my cousin and things like that. So I decided to, you know, sacrifice my camera stuff for those people, for those guys. So, like I said though, definitely not a lot of trunk space. You know, we worked it out, but as you can see, you know, we already took their 2 bags out. And thank goodness they're younger kids, so they didn't have any big bags. But I was just very disappointed at the lack of trunk space this vehicle had. I was also disappointed that they gave me a Florida tag, because sometimes when I drive wild and crazy on the highways, I don't want people to know I'm from Florida, or I don't want them to blame Floridians for the way I drive. So sorry about that, Florida. Yes. So overall, I must say, it was a very, it was actually a nice vehicle. Overall, it's a, hold on, let me see if I can shut this trunk, I'm sorry. Yes, overall, it's a very nice vehicle. Like I say, Chrysler's, at least the Chrysler 300 is a very elegant type of vehicle. It's something that is not too fancy, but it's not too, you know, normal either. Definitely depends on what type of model and trim you get. From what I've been told, yes, Chrysler now only makes 2 vehicles. The Chrysler 300 and the Chrysler Pacifica van. And those are the only 2 vehicles they have. So, you know, unfortunately, you don't have a lot to choose from, although, you know, Chrysler does own Dodge and Jeep. So you do have those vehicles to choose from, you know, if you really still are interested in getting a Chrysler. The vehicle handles incredibly on the road. The ride is unbelievable. Like, I would definitely say, I was expecting for it to be kind of a tough or hard ride, but the ride was extremely smooth. I was very impressed with that. It's interesting, as I was doing this review, I noticed a Chrysler Pacifica, and like I say, these are the only 2 vehicles that Chrysler makes right now. The Chrysler Pacifica and the Chrysler 300. One other thing I will say, I just love these headlights. There's something about them that is just kind of elegant and nice, and it's almost funny because to me, at a certain angle, or, you know, sometimes to me it almost looks like a Rolls Royce coming down the highway. And I used to get confused when they first changed the headlights on these Chrysler 300s, because I would be like, is that a Rolls Royce? And lo and behold, it was just a Chrysler 300. Like I said, the poor man's Rolls Royce. I'm on my way heading back to Central Florida. I just dropped off the kids, and me and my cousin, who's out here somewhere walking around, you might see him in the background hiding because he didn't want to be on video. I don't know if you can see him back there walking, but he's out here walking around as I'm shooting this video. Yeah, before, I know these videos aren't extremely popular, but I'm also trying to practice and be on the other side of the camera, you know, to try to prepare for some big things that could be happening in the near future. So let's just take one more look at the vehicle. It's definitely a very elegant vehicle. I think overall they're pretty affordable. You know, it's not like you're gonna break the bank. And I would definitely say the ride is very smooth and nice. And the gas mileage on the highway is very good. Now, unfortunately around town, the gas mileage sucks. Driving this thing around town, I couldn't believe how much gas it was burning, and the gas mileage really sucked. But from driving it to DC, I would definitely say I was very impressed with how well it did on the highway and how well the gas mileage was. So, as I always say, please comment, like, subscribe, share. And if you have a vehicle out there that you would like Cuzzintruck with his unprofessional car reviews to review, definitely reach out to me, let me know, and I'll happily review your vehicle. But just remember, I will need to put the vehicle on the highway, and I will need to put a couple of miles on it to really get a feel for what the vehicle is about and what it can actually do. So until next time, I'll holler at you guys. Peace.